The ultrasound photo slid under Nadia Serrano's apartment door at 2:17 a.m. No envelope, no warning, just a grainy black and white image of new life. And pressed against it, a single black rose. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The room seemed to spin around her as realization dawned. This wasn't just any ultrasound. It was hers. A child she never knew existed. Her phone vibrated once on the kitchen counter. Private number, she answered with shaking fingers. Hello? Silence stretched for 3 heartbeats, then a man's voice, calm, controlled, dangerous. That child shouldn't exist, which means someone is lying. The line went dead. Nadia sank to her knees, clutching the ultrasound to her chest. In that moment, 2 terrifying truths crashed down upon her. She was pregnant. And the father was a Mafia boss who was never supposed to be able to have children. Nadia Serrano didn't believe in fairy tales, not anymore, not since she was 16 when her mother was gunned down in what police called a robbery gone wrong. What the official reports didn't mention was that her mother had been walking past a known Caruso Syndicate meeting spot when rival gunmen opened fire. No one was ever charged. No one ever paid. That day, something hardened inside Nadia. She stopped hoping for justice and decided to create it herself. 8 years later, she worked as a victim advocate in Greywick Harbor, a port city where shipping containers hid more secrets than the ocean itself. Her days were spent with bruised women, terrified children, found case files that never seemed to find their way to court. The Mafia wasn't a rumor here, it was infrastructure, which was why, 8 months earlier, Nadia had walked into the Harborlight Gala wearing a borrowed dress and a fake smile. Her goal wasn't to dance or drink champagne. It was to find evidence against the Caruso Syndicate, especially against its shadowed leader, Bastian Caruso. She never expected that night would change everything, that the child now growing inside her would link her forever to the man she'd sworn to destroy. Now, staring at the ultrasound, Nadia felt ice in her veins. Someone knew her secret. Someone had been watching her, and they'd just threatened her unborn child. She looked around her small apartment, suddenly aware of how vulnerable she was, how alone. The black rose was a message. In Greywick Harbor, everyone knew what it meant. You've been marked for death. This is just the beginning, and I know you're already invested. You can't leave Nadia facing this threat alone, can you? Subscribe now so you won't miss how her story unfolds. You're already here. Don't turn away now. 8 months earlier. The Harborlight Gala glittered with wealth and power. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, and Greywick's elite dressed in their finest. Politicians, judges, and businessmen who smiled for cameras while their hands stayed dirty. Nadia adjusted her waitress uniform, heart pounding beneath the crisp white shirt. She wasn't supposed to be here. The catering company had hired her last minute, not knowing she'd spent weeks planning this infiltration. "Table 6 needs refills," her supervisor barked. She nodded, were lifting a tray of champagne flutes. Perfect cover to move through the room, to listen, to watch. Her real target was the back office. Rumours said shipping manifests were kept there, proof of human cargo moving through Greywick Harbor under Caruso protection. As she weaved through laughing guests, Nadia felt it. A gaze, heavy as a physical touch. She turned slowly. While politicians laughed too loud and donors drank too much, a man stood near the windows, dark suit, immaculate, one hand resting casually in his pocket. He wasn't smiling. He was watching. Bastian Caruso. He wasn't what she expected. Not loud or flashy. He commanded attention by giving none. Power contained, controlled. When his eyes met hers, Nadia felt something electric pass between them. Not desire, though God help her, he was beautiful in a dangerous way. No, it was recognition, as if he saw straight through her disguise. She should have walked away, should have abandoned her plan. Instead, she held his gaze for 3 seconds too long, then deliberately turned back to her work. "Who's the man by the windows?" she whispered to another server. The woman glanced over, then quickly looked away. "Don't even look at him." That's Bastian Caruso. They say he once had a man's fingers broken for spilling wine on his shoes. Nadia swallowed hard. Is he alone? He's never alone. See the two men by the bar, security, and that woman in the blue dress is his lawyer, the only one who's ever kept him out of prison. As the night progressed, Nadia made 3 circuits past the hallway leading to the offices. Each time someone blocked her path. Coincidence? She doubted it. On her 4th attempt, she noticed her path was clear. Too clear. She slipped down the hallway, heart racing. The office door was unlocked. Another bad sign. Inside, she quickly found the filing cabinet, fingers trembling as she searched for shipping records. She found them in the 3rd drawer, manifests with impossible cargo weights, suspicious destinations, evidence. Finally. She slipped the papers into her uniform pocket and turned to leave, only to find Bastian Caruso leaning against the doorframe, looking for something. His voice was soft, almost gentle. Nadia froze. I got lost looking for the restroom. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. 3 times in the past hour? That's quite a bladder problem. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Who sent you? He asked. The Sato family? Federal agents? Or are you just a very ambitious reporter? I don't know what you're talking about, she said, backing away until she hit the desk. Bastian moved closer and Nadia caught his scent, expensive cologne masking something darker, more primal. You're not afraid, he observed. Interesting. Should I be? His eyes darkened. Most people are. Something passed between them then, a current of understanding. He knew she was lying. She knew he knew. Yet neither moved. I should return to work, she finally said. Bastian stepped aside, surprising her. Of course, but first, have a drink with me. He poured amber liquid from a crystal decanter on the desk, handed her a glass. A test. Nadia took it, meeting his eyes defiantly as she sipped. To new acquaintances, he said softly. She never saw the drug hit her system. The glass slipped from her fingers. The room tilted. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Bastian reaching to catch her, and beyond him, another figure watching from the shadows. Someone who didn't want her talking to Bastian Caruso. Someone who was already planning something much worse. You've seen how high the stakes are now. But this is just the beginning. What happens next will change everything. Nadia woke with a gasp, heart hammering against her ribs. Soft sheets, unfamiliar ceiling, not her apartment. She bolted upright, immediately regretting it as her head spun. Her waitress uniform was gone. Instead, she wore an oversized t-shirt that wasn't hers. Don't panic, the voice came from across the room. You're safe. Bastian Caruso sat in a leather armchair, watching her. He'd removed his suit jacket. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, revealing forearms marked with faint scars. A gun rested on the side table beside him. What happened? Nadia demanded, pulling the sheets higher. Where am I? My private residence. And what happened is I saved your life. His voice remained calm, matter-of-fact. Your drink was drugged, not by me. Memories flickered back. The gala, the office, the papers she'd stolen. Her hand instinctively went to her side, searching for the documents. Looking for these? Bastian held up the shipping manifests. Interesting reading choice for a waitress. Nadia's mouth went dry. Are you going to kill me? Something shifted in his expression, not anger but surprise. If I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be having this conversation. He set the papers down. The man who drugged you works for Victor Sato. He's been targeting women at these events for months, trafficking them out through the harbor. Why would you care? Nadia challenged. Isn't that your business too? Bastian's eyes darkened. I don't traffic people. Ever. The intensity in his voice made her believe him despite everything. So what happens now? She asked. You tell me why you're really investigating me. He leaned forward. The truth this time. Their eyes locked in silent battle. Something about him made her want to confess everything. Her mother's death, her years seeking justice. But survival instinct won. I'm a journalist, she lied. A smile touched his lips. No, you're not. He stood, approaching the bed slowly. You're Nadia Serrano. Your mother was Maria Serrano, killed 8 years ago in a shooting outside the Black Harbor Club. Nadia froze. How do you— I make it my business to know who's hunting me. He sat on the edge of the bed, close enough that she could smell his cologne. The shooting wasn't my operation. It was Victor Sato's men, targeting one of my lieutenants. Your mother was collateral damage. His words hit her like physical blows. After years of questions, here was someone offering answers. Why should I believe you? You shouldn't, he said simply. Trust no one in this city, especially me. Yet something in his eyes, a haunted shadow, a familiar pain, made her want to. Morning found them tangled in sheets, boundaries crossed in ways Nadia never imagined. It wasn't planned, it was reckless need, a collision of two lonely souls finding brief shelter in each other's arms. As dawn broke, Nadia slipped from the bed while Bastian slept. She gathered her clothes, avoiding her reflection in the mirror. What had she done? Sleeping with the very man she'd sworn to bring down. She paused at the bedroom door, looking back at him. In sleep, the dangerous edge softened. He looked almost vulnerable. Nadia left without a goodbye. This couldn't happen again. Wouldn't happen again. She had a job to do. Justice to find. And Bastian Caruso was still the enemy, no matter how gently he'd touched her in the darkness. No matter how safe she'd felt in his arms, you've seen them connect in ways neither expected. The walls between them crumbled for just one night, but the dangers are only beginning. Can you really walk away now, knowing what's coming next? 8 weeks later, Nadia sat frozen on the examination table as her doctor stared at the ultrasound screen. How far along did you say? Dr. Rivera asked, frowning. I didn't know I was pregnant at all. The doctor pointed to the monitor. Based on measurements, approximately 8 weeks. She hesitated. Are you certain about the father? Nadia nodded slowly. There's no one else. Dr. Rivera's expression shifted. Miss Serrano, I should inform you, this man's medical records were flagged in our system. Flagged? What does that mean? Patient confidentiality prevents me from sharing details, but the doctor chose her words carefully. The father you've identified was declared medically incapable of having children. Permanently. The room seemed to tilt. That's impossible. Medical records indicate he suffered trauma 3 years ago. Gunshot wound. The damage was extensive. Nadia's mind raced. 8 weeks ago, the night after the gala. Bastian Caruso. There had been no one else, which meant only 3 possibilities. The medical records were wrong. Bastian had lied about something fundamental, or someone was orchestrating an elaborate setup. She left the clinic clutching the ultrasound printout, suddenly aware of every shadow, every passing car. The weight of impossible knowledge pressed down on her. Back at her apartment, Nadia went straight to her hidden files on the Caruso Syndicate. She needed to think, to plan. The pregnancy complicated everything. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Silence then. You should be more careful about doctor appointments, Miss Serrano. The line went dead before she could respond. Heart racing, Nadia checked her locks, drew the blinds. Someone was watching her. Someone new. She called her office, fingers trembling. I need a few personal days, she told her supervisor at the Victim Advocacy Center. Actually, her boss replied, tone odd. There's someone here asking about you. Says he's an old friend. Tall guy. Expensive suit. Ice flooded Nadia's veins. I don't have friends like that. Don't tell him anything. She hung up and packed a bag, mind spinning with escape plans. She'd go to her cousins in Cedar Falls just for a few days to figure things out. When Nadia opened her bedroom door, she froze. Every file, every note she'd collected on the Caruso Syndicate was gone. The drawer hung open, empty. On her pillow lay a single black rose. Her phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. We need to talk about the child that shouldn't exist. Before she could move, her apartment door handle turned slowly, silently. Someone was coming for her. For them. And Nadia realized with cold certainty she couldn't run from this. The child growing inside her had just made her the most dangerous woman in Greywick Harbor. The impossible has happened, a child that defies medical science, a threat closing in from all sides. Nadia's life hangs in the balance, and someone knows her deepest secret. You've come this far with her. Can you really leave now when she needs you most? Nadia grabbed the nearest weapon, a heavy lamp, and backed away from the door. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as the handle turned completely. The door swung open. Bastian Caruso stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Not the faceless threat she'd imagined, but somehow more terrifying. "You should have better locks," he said quietly, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Two men in suits remained in the hallway. Security. Nadia didn't lower the lamp. "How did you find me?" "The better question is who else has found you?" His gaze travelled to the black rose on her pillow, then back to her. "You've been marked? By your people?" "Not mine." Something flashed in his eyes. Anger, but not directed at her. "Put down the lamp, Nadia. If I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't knock." Slowly she set it down, but kept her distance. "What do you want?" "Answers." He reached into his jacket. Nadia flinched and pulled out her stolen medical file. "Someone broke into my doctor's office last night. Your name was flagged in a search of patient connections. So now you're stalking me. I'm protecting you." His voice remained calm, but tension radiated from him. "Someone wants us linked, and that puts you in danger." Nadia's hand unconsciously moved to her stomach. The gesture wasn't lost on Bastian. His eyes narrowed. "You're hiding something." She couldn't run, couldn't lie. With shaking hands, she reached for her bag and pulled out the ultrasound photo. "This is why they're watching me," she said, holding it out. "This is why they left the rose." Bastian took the image, confusion crossing his face before understanding dawned. Something cracked in his carefully controlled expression. "That's impossible," he whispered. "That's what the doctor said. She told me you can't have children." Nadia watched him carefully. "But there's been no one else." Bastian sank onto the edge of her bed, staring at the ultrasound. For the first time, she saw raw emotion on his face. Shock, disbelief, and something else. Hope? "3 years ago, I took a bullet meant for my brother," he said slowly. "The damage was extensive. My doctor, Halden, said I would never father children." He looked up at her, eyes intense. "I believed him." "You think he lied to you?" "Why would he do that?" "Someone wanted me to believe it." His jaw tightened. Someone did this on purpose. The realization hit them both simultaneously. This wasn't about Nadia or even Bastian. It was about their child, a Caruso heir. "Rival families would kill for this leverage," Bastian said, standing abruptly. "You're not safe here. Neither of you are." As if on cue, glass shattered in the living room. A small metal canister rolled across the floor. "Gas!" Bastian shouted, grabbing Nadia's arm. He pulled her toward the bedroom window just as the canister erupted, filling the apartment with thick smoke. Nadia coughed, eyes burning. "Trust me," Bastian said, pulling her close. She had no choice. They escaped down the fire escape as gunshots peppered the wall above them. Bastian's men returned fire, buying them time. He shielded her body with his as they ran to an idling black SUV. "Get in!" Nadia hesitated for only a second before diving into the back seat. Bastian followed, slamming the door as the driver accelerated away from the building. "Are you hurt?" Bastian's hands moved over her arms, checking for injuries. "No." She was trembling, adrenaline coursing through her. Who were they? "Not sure yet." His expression hardened. "But they knew exactly when to strike. They've been watching both of us." Nadia clutched her stomach protectively. "What do they want with our baby?" Bastian's eyes softened at the word our. He reached for her hand, hesitating before taking it. "A Caruso heir is powerful leverage," he said quietly. "Control the child. Control the empire." "I don't want any part of your empire," Nadia whispered. "It doesn't matter what we want anymore." His grip tightened on her hand. Someone made sure of that. As the city blurred past the windows, Bastian made a call. Secure the east property. Full protocol. We're coming in. He turned back to Nadia, determination in his eyes. I'm taking you somewhere safe, not as a prisoner, as protection. The look they shared held 1,000 unspoken words. Enemies by choice, parents by fate, and now reluctant allies against an unseen enemy. This is just the beginning, and I know you're already invested. And you can't leave these characters hanging, can you? The iron gates of Bastian's estate swung open, revealing a sprawling property hidden behind tall hedges and security cameras. A fortress disguised as a home. Nadia remained silent as they drove up the winding driveway. Everything inside her screamed this was wrong, seeking protection from the very man she'd once vowed to destroy. The SUV stopped at the main house, a modern structure of glass and stone. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. Welcome to your new home, Bastian said, helping her out. Temporary home, he corrected, noting her expression. Inside, the house was surprisingly warm, not the cold, sterile environment she'd expected from a man like him. Art on the walls, books on shelves, signs of life. A woman approached them, tall, athletic, with watchful eyes. Mira, Bastian introduced, my head of security. She'll get you settled. Mira nodded. The East Wing is prepared. I've doubled the perimeter guards. And Dominic? In your office. Victor called twice. He's asking questions about the attack. Something passed between them, an unspoken concern. Bastian turned to Nadia. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning. Before she could respond, he was gone, leaving her with Mira, who led her upstairs to a suite larger than Nadia's entire apartment. There are clothes in the closet, Mira said. The kitchen is always stocked. Don't try to leave the grounds. It's for your own safety. I'm a prisoner then. Mira's expression softened slightly. No. You're carrying the first Caruso heir in a generation. That makes you the most protected woman in Greywick Harbor. After Mira left, Nadia explored her new cage. Luxurious, but a cage nonetheless. Through the window, she watched guards patrol the grounds. Beyond them, the city lights twinkled. So close, yet unreachable. Sleep eluded her. Around 3 a.m. she ventured out, padding barefoot through the silent house. Voices drifted from a partially open door downstairs. Bastian and another man. The doctor confessed, the unknown man said. Holden admitted he falsified your medical records on Victor's orders. He's been on Sato's payroll for years. Why? Bastian's voice was tight with controlled rage. Control. Victor wanted you to believe you had no future, no legacy, made you more reckless, more willing to take risks. And now? Now he knows he failed. The pregnancy changes everything. Nadia stepped back, but the floor creaked beneath her. The voices stopped. Come in. Nadia, Bastian called. Since you're already listening. Face burning, she pushed the door open. Bastian sat behind a desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. Across from him stood an older man with silver hair and kind eyes, at odds with the gun holstered at his hip. This is Dominic, Bastian said, my advisor and the closest thing I have to family. Dominic nodded politely. Ms. Serrano. I was just telling Bastian, Dominic continued, that his condition was fabricated. There was minor damage from the gunshot, but nothing permanent. Your pregnancy is proof of that. Who would do this? Nadia asked. And why? Victor Sato, Bastian said, his voice cold. My finance handler and apparently a traitor. Dominic spread several photos on the desk. These were taken tonight at the harbour. Nadia moved closer. The photos showed shipping containers being loaded onto trucks, women being escorted at gunpoint. Trafficking, she whispered. Yes. Bastian's jaw tightened. The operation I've been trying to shut down for years. Nadia looked at him in confusion. But you're a criminal? Yes. His eyes met hers, unflinching. But even monsters have lines they don't cross. Dominic touched a photo. Victor has been running this behind Bastian's back, using Caruso resources, Caruso protection. When Bastian started investigating, Victor needed a distraction. Me. Nadia realized. He knew I was looking into the Caruso Syndicate. And when that didn't work, Bastian added, he tried more direct methods. He gestured to a monitor showing her apartment building, now surrounded by police cars. The attack tonight wasn't just about the baby, Dominic explained. It was about erasing evidence, your evidence against Victor's operation. Nadia sank into a chair, mind spinning. Everything she thought she knew was unraveling. There's more, Bastian said quietly. He opened a drawer and removed a file, sliding it across to her. Inside was a photo of a young woman, maybe 17. Dark hair, Bastian's eyes. My sister, he said, voice tight. Sophia disappeared 10 years ago, taken at a club, trafficked out through the harbour. Police did nothing, said she probably ran away. Understanding dawned on Nadia. That's why I built what I built, he finished. To find her, to stop it from happening to others. In that moment, Nadia saw Bastian Caruso clearly for the first time. Not just a mafia boss. A brother who couldn't save his sister. A man using darkness to fight something darker. I don't expect you to understand, he said, misreading her silence, or forgive, but now you know why this matters. Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the house. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Dominic's phone buzzed. Perimeter breach, east side. Bastian was on his feet instantly, gun drawn. Stay with her, he ordered Dominic. Safe room protocol. Now. As Dominic hurried her away, Nadia glanced back at Bastian. The man she'd sworn to destroy, now risking his life to protect her. And their child. The lines between enemy and ally had never been so blurred. You've seen how high the stakes are now, but this is just the beginning. What happens next will change everything. Subscribe now and stay with us. Or you won't want to miss seeing who's breached Bastian's fortress and what secrets Victor has been hiding all these years. Can you walk away now, knowing you've come this far? Gunfire echoed through the estate grounds as Dominic rushed Nadia down a hidden stairwell. Steel doors sealed behind them, muffling the chaos above. What about Bastian? Nadia gasped, one hand protectively over her stomach. He can handle himself, Dominic replied, punching a code into a keypad. A heavy door slid open, revealing a fortified safe room. He always does. Inside, monitors displayed security feeds from around the property. Nadia watched in horror as masked figures swarmed the perimeter. Bastian and his men engaged them near the east gate, bullets flying. Who are they? She whispered. Could be Sato's men. Could be someone else. Dominic checked his weapon. In our world, enemies multiply fast. On one screen, Bastian took down 2 attackers with ruthless efficiency. His movements were calculated, precise, a man accustomed to violence. Yet hours earlier, he'd touched her ultrasound photo with trembling fingers. How could he be both men? Dominic's phone buzzed. It's Bastian. They're retreating. He listened, expression darkening. Understood. We'll be ready. He turned to Nadia. Change of plans. We're moving you. Where? To confront the man who started this, Dr. Halden. The dawn broke as they arrived at a cabin on the edge of Greywick Harbor. The doctor sat handcuffed to a chair, face bruised, eyes wild with fear. Mira stood guard, expression cold. When Bastian entered with Nadia, Halden's face crumpled. I had no choice, he pleaded. They would have killed my daughter. Who? Bastian's voice was dangerously soft. Tell me everything, Halden. The doctor's confession spilled out between sobs. 3 years ago, after treating Bastian's gunshot wound, Victor Sato approached him. The job was simple. Convince Bastian he could never father children. Fabricate test results. Create a lie that would shape the future of the Caruso Empire. He said it would make you reckless, Halden explained. Without an heir to worry about, you'd take more risks, make mistakes, eventually fall. Nadia watched Bastian's face harden with each word. This betrayal cut deeper than any bullet. Why now? Bastian demanded. Why expose it after all this time? Victor never expected this. Halden gestured weakly toward Nadia. When he learned about the pregnancy, he panicked, said it ruined everything. What else was Victor planning? I don't know details. Just that it was bigger than just you. Something about shipping routes, international connections. He called it the Black Rose operation. The same black rose left on Nadia's pillow, the symbol that marked her for death. Victor wanted control, Holden continued. But now there's an heir, a true Caruso. It changes the succession. Bastian turned to Dominic. Find Victor, now. He disappeared after the attack on Miss Serrano's apartment, Dominic replied. All accounts emptied. Contacts gone dark. A sharp crack split the air. The cabin window shattered. Blood bloomed across Dr. Holden's chest. A single shot to the heart. Sniper! Mira shouted, to tackling Nadia to the floor as Bastian and Dominic returned fire through the broken window. In the chaos, Nadia locked eyes with the dying doctor. Holden's lips moved, forming words only she could see. Trust no one, even him. Then he was gone, taking his secrets to the grave. The doctor's final warning haunts Nadia as danger closes in from all sides. Is Bastian truly her protector, or is there something darker behind his concern? 2 days later, Nadia paced the library of Bastian's secondary estate, a smaller, more secure property hidden in the hills outside Greywick. Books lined the walls, but she couldn't focus enough to read. She was a prisoner in a gilded cage, protected, but not free. The door opened. Bastian entered, looking exhausted. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, stubble roughened his jaw. He'd barely slept since the attack. Any news? Nadia asked. Victor's trail is cold, but we found something else. He placed a file on the table between them. Your boss at the Victim Advocacy Centre, James Harlow, look familiar. Photos spilled out, James shaking hands with known criminals, exchanging envelopes, meeting Victor in shadowed corners. No, Nadia whispered. That's impossible. James fights for victims. He identifies vulnerable women, Bastian corrected. Women without family connections. Easy targets. The realization hit like a physical blow. He gave me the Harborlight Gala assignment. Said it was a chance to gather evidence against you. He sent you into a trap, Bastian said quietly. Victor's men were waiting. If I hadn't noticed you. Nadia sank into a chair, stomach churning. For 3 years she'd worked alongside James, trusted him, believed in their mission. How many women had she unknowingly guided into danger? There's more. Bastian hesitated. The attack on your apartment wasn't random. Your neighbour found this. He handed her a small device, a camera, barely larger than a button. It was hidden in your bathroom vent. There were others in your bedroom, kitchen. Violation crashed through her. How long? Based on the model, months. Maybe longer. Nadia thought she might be sick. Someone had been watching her, recording her most private moments. And now that someone wanted her dead. Why me? She asked, voice breaking. Even before the pregnancy, why target me specifically? Bastian's expression darkened. I've been asking myself the same question. He sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth, yet careful not to touch her. Your mother's death wasn't random, he said carefully. Nadia Serrano worked for City Records. She had access to shipping manifests, customs documents. She was a file clerk, Nadia protested. She was building a case against Victor's trafficking operation. Bastian's eyes held hers. The same case you've been building for years. The floor seemed to shift beneath Nadia's feet. How do you know this? Because she tried to bring the evidence to me, not knowing Victor intercepted her. The shooting at the Black Harbor Club wasn't meant for my lieutenant. It was meant for your mother. Grief and rage collided inside Nadia. Her mother hadn't been collateral damage. She'd been the target all along. And James, her trusted mentor, had been watching her follow the same dangerous path. I need air, she gasped, standing abruptly. Bastian rose with her. I'll come with you. No, she backed away. I need to be alone, please. Hesitation crossed his face. The grounds are secured. Stay within the garden walls. Outside, Nadia gulped fresh air, mind spinning with revelations. Her entire crusade for justice had been manipulated from the start. By James, by Victor, perhaps even by Bastian himself. Trust no one, even him. The garden provided little peace. Security cameras tracked her movements. Guards patrolled the perimeter. For her protection, Bastian insisted. But with each passing day, protection felt more like possession. As darkness fell, Nadia made her way back toward the house. Voices drifted from an open window. Bastian and someone else. "The pregnancy complicates everything," the stranger said. "The child makes her dangerous." "She's not a threat," Bastian replied. "She's a liability. Her mother was too curious, and look what happened." "That was different." "Was it?" The voice dropped lower. "Victor might be gone, but others will come. They'll use her. Use the child. You know what needs to be done." "She stays protected. That's final." Nadia backed away, heart pounding. In their world, what needs to be done rarely meant anything good. Moving silently along the wall, she spotted a phone on a gardener's bench. Abandoned, but still working. Her first chance to contact the outside world in days. With trembling fingers, she dialed the only number she trusted completely. Detective Kieran Holt, the one honest cop in Greywick. "Holt," a gruff voice answered. "Kieran, it's Nadia. A hand clamped over her mouth from behind. The phone was ripped away. "Ms. Serrano was just leaving," Victor Sato said smoothly into the receiver before hanging up. His smile made her blood freeze. "Hello, Nadia. We have unfinished business to discuss." Behind him stood two armed men, and wearing a security uniform, looking guilty but determined, was Mira. Bastian's most trusted guard had betrayed him too. Who can Nadia trust when everyone around her has hidden agendas? The danger has found her even in Bastian's sanctuary. Can you walk away now, not knowing if she and her unborn child will survive? Subscribe to discover who's really pulling the strings in this deadly game, because in Greywick Harbor, loyalty is as rare as true love. "Don't scream," Victor whispered, pressing something cold against Nadia's side. "One wrong move, and neither you nor the baby will leave this garden." Nadia froze, heart thundering in her chest. Victor's smile never reached his eyes. Cold, calculating eyes that assessed her value like merchandise. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Walk," he ordered, guiding her toward a service gate where a black SUV waited. Slowly, naturally. Mira moved ahead, opening the gate with a security card. The betrayal stung worse than fear. "He trusted you," Nadia hissed at her. Mira wouldn't meet her eyes. "He's not who you think he is." Victor pushed Nadia into the SUV, sliding in beside her as the vehicle pulled away from Bastian's estate. No alarms sounded. No one pursued them. "Bastian will find me," Nadia said, more to convince herself than threaten him. Victor chuckled, the sound devoid of humour. "Bastian is currently preoccupied with a warehouse explosion on the East Docks. Such tragic timing." Cold dread spread through her. "What did you do?" "Created a distraction, one he couldn't ignore." He examined his manicured nails. "By the time he realizes you're gone, we'll be discussing our future arrangements." "I have nothing to discuss with you." "On the contrary." Victor's smile widened. "You're carrying the key to the Caruso empire. A child that legally stands to inherit everything. Properties, businesses, accounts. Quite the golden ticket for a struggling victim advocate." The SUV wound through back roads, moving steadily away from the city. Through the window, Nadia spotted a road sign. Cedar Falls, 30 miles. The same town where her cousin lived, where she'd planned to escape before Bastian intervened. Victor had known her plans all along. "You've been watching me for years," she realized, "since my mother." Maria was becoming problematic. Like mother, like daughter. He sighed. "I offered her money, protection. She chose principles instead. Such a waste." Rage burned through Nadia's fear. "You killed her." "I removed an obstacle, the same obstacle you've become." He touched her stomach, making her flinch. "Though you've provided an unexpected opportunity." The SUV slowed, turning onto a private road leading to an isolated warehouse. Two armed guards opened the gates. "Here's my offer," Victor said as they parked. "Cooperation for survival. The child needs a father figure. I'm happy to play that role. You're insane if you think I'd ever. Think carefully, Nadia. Bastian isn't coming. Oh, not this time. He showed her his phone, security footage of a massive explosion, bodies on the ground. Sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Her blood turned to ice. Among the bodies on the screen, she recognized Bastian's jacket, his watch, motionless. You're lying, she whispered, but doubt crept in. That could be anyone. Confirmation arrived 10 minutes ago. The great Bastian Caruso is dead, which leaves you with limited options. As guards pulled her from the SUV, Nadia felt something unexpected. A tiny flutter in her abdomen, the first movement of her child. Their child. In that moment, clarity washed over her. She couldn't fight her way out, couldn't outrun them, but she could outsmart them. Meeting Victor's gaze, she forced defeat into her expression. What do you want from me? His smile was triumphant. Smart girl, let's discuss your future. As they led her inside, Nadia's hand brushed her necklace, the one Bastian had given her for protection. Inside the silver pendant was a tracker Detective Kieran Holt had helped her activate days ago. A backup plan for a woman who trusted no one completely, not even the father of her child. The threads of loyalty are unraveling, and Nadia stands alone facing a monster who orchestrated everything from the shadows. Is Bastian really dead? Will her hidden tracker save her in time? The life growing inside her depends on the choices she makes next. Don't walk away now. Subscribe to discover if love and justice can survive in a world built on lies. Some stories demand to be witnessed to the end. The warehouse looked abandoned from outside. Inside told a different story. Modern security, computer stations, armed guards, a criminal operation hiding in plain sight. Victor led Nadia to a sterile room with a single chair bolted to the floor. A camera on a tripod faced it, red light blinking. What's this? She asked, eyeing the setup. Insurance. Victor gestured to the chair. Sit. When she hesitated, a guard forced her down, securing zip ties around her wrists. You're about to make a statement, Victor explained, adjusting the camera. Announcing your willing collaboration with me to raise the Caruso heir. A touching story of two people united after Bastian's tragic death. No one will believe that. They will when the alternative is your body washing up on shore. His pleasant tone made the threat more chilling. Your choice, Nadia. A guard brought in a laptop displaying documents, transfer papers for Bastian's assets, to custody declarations, death certificates waiting for signatures. Victor had planned everything. You were never supposed to survive that night at the gala, he said conversationally. My men had specific instructions. Bastian's interference was unexpected. So was the pregnancy, Nadia said. Indeed. Victor laughed softly. The great irony. Bastian was never actually infertile. The fertility suppression drugs in his medication simply made it highly unlikely. A necessary precaution. Understanding dawned. You drugged him for years. Control through despair. Take away a man's future, and he loses his reason to fight carefully. Victor circled her chair. Bastian believed he had nothing to lose. It made him careless, reckless. Until me. Until you gave him hope, a fatal weakness. While Victor monologued, Nadia assessed her surroundings. 2 guards at the door, security keypads, a window showing loading docks where women were being transferred between vehicles, human cargo. The trafficking operation Bastian had been fighting. Why tell me all this if you plan to kill me? She asked, buying time. The tracker in her necklace needed 20 minutes to transmit a location. She'd counted 17. Because, Nadia, you're joining the operation, willingly or not. Victor touched her cheek. Your experience as a victim advocate makes you valuable. You know the system, the shelters, the vulnerable women. Horror washed over her. You want me to help you find victims. I want you to help build an empire for your child's future. He smiled. Bastian's death creates a vacancy. I'm offering you a place at the table instead of on the menu. A phone buzzed. Victor checked it, frowning. Wait here. We have a situation. After he left, Nadia worked frantically at her zip ties, rubbing them against the chair's metal edge. The plastic cut into her skin, drawing blood, but didn't break. Through the window she saw Victor arguing with someone. Mira. The betrayal still stung, but something in the woman's posture seemed wrong. Tense. Artificial. Mira glanced toward the window, locked eyes with Nadia for a split second, then looked away. But not before Nadia caught the message in that look. Hope. The door burst open. Victor returned, tension radiating from him. Change of plans, he announced, nodding to the guards. Move her to the secondary location. Now. What's happening? Nadia asked as they cut her zip ties, only to replace them with handcuffs. Victor's controlled facade cracked slightly. It seems reports of Bastian's death were premature. A distant explosion rocked the building, then another, closer. Alarm sirens wailed. He's here, isn't he? Nadia couldn't keep the triumph from her voice. Victor's hand struck her face, hard enough to split her lip. Get her out. Back entrance. Now. As they dragged her toward the door, Nadia heard what Victor couldn't. The faint sound of police sirens mixing with the alarms. Her 20 minutes were up. The tracker had worked. Detective Holt was coming, and somewhere in the chaos, Bastian was alive, cutting through Victor's defenses to reach her. The baby fluttered again, stronger this time, a fighter already, like father, like child. Victor's mask has finally slipped, revealing the monster who's been pulling the strings all along. With Bastian closing in and police on their way, the final confrontation approaches. Who will survive when justice and vengeance collide? Gunfire erupted outside as guards dragged Nadia toward a loading bay. Victor barked orders, his composed facade crumbling with each new explosion. The warehouse was under siege from multiple directions. Move faster, he shouted, grabbing Nadia's arm so roughly she cried out, She's our only leverage! Through smoke-filled corridors, Nadia caught glimpses of chaos, guards abandoning posts, women breaking free from holding cells, computer servers being hastily destroyed, Victor's empire collapsing in real time. A massive blast rocked the building's east side, throwing them to the ground. Concrete dust rained from the ceiling. Federal agents? A voice boomed through megaphones outside. The building is surrounded! Victor pulled Nadia up, pressing a gun to her temple. One more step and she dies. But the threat was directed at emptiness. The guards had fled. They were alone in the corridor, the baby the only witness to Victor's desperation. It's over, Nadia said quietly. Nothing's over. His fingers dug into her arm. You're my ticket out. A shadow moved at the end of the hallway. Victor swung his gun toward it, but too late. Mira stepped into view, her own weapon aimed steadily at Victor's head. Let her go. You betrayed me? Victor snarled. After everything. I never worked for you. Mira's expression remained calm. Deep cover, 3 years. FBI. Understanding dawned on Nadia. Mira's strange behavior. Still, her access to Bastian's security, her presence during her abduction, not betrayal, strategy. Victor's grip tightened, using Nadia as a human shield. Back off or I shoot her right now. You won't get that chance, the voice came from behind them. Bastian emerged from the shadows, bloodied but very much alive. His eyes met Nadia's for a heartbeat. Relief, fear, determination all visible in that single look. Victor's gun wavered between his two attackers. This isn't how it ends. It ended the moment you targeted her, Bastian said, each word laced with cold fury. Victor laughed, a harsh, broken sound. The great Bastian Caruso, undone by a waitress and an impossible child, your father would be disappointed. My father was like you, Bastian replied. That's why I'm nothing like him. In the split second, Victor processed those words, and Nadia acted. She drove her elbow back into his ribs with all her strength, breaking his grip. As she dropped to the floor, 2 shots rang out simultaneously. Victor fell, clutching his shoulder. Mira moved in, kicking his weapon away. Victor Sato, she recited, you're under arrest for human trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder. As Mira continued, Bastian rushed to Nadia, gathering her carefully in his arms, eyes searching for injuries. "You're alive," she whispered, touching his face as if to confirm he was real. "I got your signal." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I will always find you." Detective Holt appeared with a team of agents, securing the scene. "Ms. Serrano," he acknowledged with a nod. "Glad to see you in one piece." "You got my message." She stood shakily, Bastian's arm supporting her. "One tracked your signal to this location. Then Caruso here made a rather convincing case for a joint operation." Holt glanced between them. Strange bedfellows. As they emerged from the warehouse, the full scale of the operation became clear. Federal vehicles surrounded the compound, agents led away suspects in handcuffs, paramedics tended to rescued women. "We found the records," Holt told Nadia. "Names, dates, officials on payroll. Everything Victor kept to protect himself will burn him instead." Hope flickered in her chest. Justice for her mother, for Bastian's sister, for countless others. But reality crashed back as Holt continued. "We'll need your testimony. Against all of them." His eyes flicked to Bastian, including Caruso. Nadia felt Bastian stiffen beside her, then relax in resignation. "Well, I understand," he said, before she could respond. In that moment, facing the rubble of Victor's empire and the uncertain future ahead, Nadia made her choice. For justice. For truth. Even if it cost her the father of her child. As the smoke clears, Nadia stands at the crossroads of love and justice. Her testimony could save countless lives, but at what personal cost? Don't miss what happens next in this impossible love story. The federal courthouse buzzed with tension as Nadia took the witness stand. 4 months had passed since the warehouse raid. Her pregnancy now showed clearly beneath her simple blue dress, impossible to hide from the jury's curious eyes. Camera flashes exploded outside courtroom windows, Greywick's biggest scandal in decades unfolding in real time. The judge gavelled for order as Nadia was sworn in. "Ms. Serrano," the prosecutor began, "please tell the court how you became involved with the Caruso Syndicate's operations." For the next 3 hours, Nadia laid bare the entire operation, the trafficking network, corrupt officials, offshore accounts. Her testimony connected names to crimes, dates to locations, building an airtight case that reached into the highest levels of Greywick Harbor's government. Judge Emmett Palmer, implicated in the documents, watched from the defendant's table, ashen-faced. Police Commissioner Reeves, who dismissed her mother's case years ago, sat handcuffed nearby. James Harlow, her former boss at the Victim Advocacy Centre, couldn't meet her eyes. When asked about Bastian's involvement, Nadia paused, choosing her words carefully. "Bastian Caruso ran illegal operations," she stated truthfully. But he actively fought against the trafficking ring. He provided critical intelligence that led to this prosecution. Not the whole truth, but not a lie. Later, as the court recessed, Nadia found herself face-to-face with Bastian in a monitored conference room. His lawyer and 2 federal agents stood nearby, watching. "You didn't have to protect me in there," he said softly. "I'm guilty of enough. I testified to the truth." She met his eyes steadily. Nothing more, nothing less. Bastian looked different, thinner, wearier, the weight of confinement evident in the shadows beneath his eyes. Yet something else had changed too. A tension gone, a burden lifted. "I signed the plea agreement this morning," he told her. "Full cooperation, complete financial disclosure, names, operations, everything." Her breath caught. "What did they offer you?" 10 years, minimum security. No chance of parole for 7. His gaze dropped to her stomach. "Our child will be in 2nd grade before I'm free." The reality of it struck her anew. Their child would grow up with a father behind bars. "It was my choice," Bastian continued, seeing her expression. "My crimes, my responsibility." "And what about my choice?" Nadia asked quietly. "What about our child's?" "That's why I'm here." He slid a folder across the table. "Everything I own is transferred to a blind trust. You'll be the sole beneficiary as our child's guardian." She didn't touch the folder. "I don't want your money. It's not about money. It's about safety." His eyes held hers. Victor had partners overseas, people who won't forgive what happened here. The trust includes security provisions and new identities if needed. You want us to disappear. The realization hurt more than she expected. I want you to survive. Bastian's voice roughened. Both of you. Behind them, a federal agent checked his watch. Time's up, Caruso. As Bastian stood to leave, Nadia caught his hand. Tell me one thing. Was any of it real? Us. The mask he wore for the world, cold, controlled, untouchable, slipped away. What remained was just a man, facing the consequences of his choices. The only real thing in my life, he whispered, is you and that child. The courtroom drama dominated headlines for weeks. Greywick Harbor corruption exposed screamed the front pages. 17 officials indicted. 3 judges removed. Millions in frozen assets. Justice, finally, for Nadia Serrano and countless others. Bastian's sentencing came last, 10 years, all as promised. As they led him away, his eyes found Nadia in the gallery. No words passed between them, but a promise formed nonetheless. This wasn't the end of their story, just the price of a new beginning. The wheels of justice have turned, but at what cost to Nadia and Bastian's future together? With their child's birth approaching and dangerous enemies still lurking, can love survive the years of separation ahead? The contractions hit at 3:17 a.m., jolting Nadia from restless sleep. Rain lashed against the windows of the safe house, her third in as many months. She fumbled for her phone, calling the only number programmed into it. It's time, she gasped to Dominic, who arrived 20 minutes later in an unmarked car. No hospital. Too exposed. Instead, a private clinic on the outskirts of town. A doctor on Bastian's payroll. Cash only. No records. This was motherhood in the shadows. As pain tore through her body, Nadia clutched a worn photograph. Bastian at his sentencing, the last image she had of him. 5 months had passed since he'd walked out of that courtroom in handcuffs. 5 months of running, hiding, waiting. Push, the doctor urged. One more time. A cry split the air, strong, defiant, alive. A boy, the doctor announced, placing the red-faced infant on Nadia's chest. Through tears, she studied his perfect features. Bastian's eyes, her nose, both of their stubbornness, judging by his angry wails. Marco, she whispered, the name they'd chosen during their last meeting, through glass and under supervision. Outside the clinic, Dominic kept watch, gun ready. 2 more men patrolled the perimeter. The remnants of Bastian's loyal circle, now her reluctant guardians. 3 days after Marco's birth, Marshal Reynolds appeared at the safe house door, federal witness protection paperwork in hand. Victor Sato escaped custody during transfer, he informed her grimly. We need to move you and the child immediately. Nadia cradled sleeping Marco against her shoulder. Where? New identities, new state, complete disappearance. Reynolds placed the documents on the table. Sign these. You leave tonight. And Bastian? Caruso remains in federal custody. For his own protection as much as anything. Reynolds' expression softened slightly. The arrangement includes supervised visits, eventually, after the threat is neutralized. Nadia looked down at her son, at the future neither she nor Bastian had believed possible. A miracle born into danger. No, she said finally. Wow, we're not running. Reynolds stared in disbelief. Ms. Serrano, you're Victor Sato's primary target, you and your child. We'll face this head on. She met his gaze steadily. My mother ran. She died anyway. I won't live looking over my shoulder teaching my son to fear shadows. This isn't just about courage. It's about survival. It's about choice. Nadia stroked Marco's soft hair. The trust Bastian established provides security. I'll use it, but on my terms. Those terms emerged in the weeks that followed. With Dominic's help, Nadia converted an abandoned warehouse into a fortress. Security systems, panic rooms, escape routes. From the outside, it looked like any other business in Greywick's recovering industrial district. Or inside operated the Serrano Foundation, a legitimate organization helping trafficking survivors rebuild their lives. Hiding in plain sight, Dominic observed during a security check. Bastian would be proud. Is he? Nadia asked. Have you told him? Dominic hesitated. He knows you're safe. That's all he wants to hear. The truth was more complicated. Prison visits were monitored, letters screened, their communications reduced to superficial updates and unsaid feelings. Yet, somehow, Bastian's influence still reached them. When Victor's European partners sent assassins, they disappeared before reaching Greywick. When corrupt officials blocked the Foundation's permits, anonymous pressure made them reconsider. 6 months after Marco's birth, Nadia brought him to the federal prison for the first time. Through bulletproof glass, Bastian saw his son. His composed facade crumbled. Tears streamed down his face as he placed his hand against the barrier. On the other side, Nadia guided Marco's tiny palm to match his father's. He has your eyes, she said into the telephone receiver. Bastian struggled to speak. Is he healthy? Happy? He's strong. Stubborn. Perfect. She swallowed hard. He should know his father. No. Bastian's voice turned harsh. Not like this. Not behind glass. 7 more years is too long. I won't have him see me as a prisoner. His eyes never left his son's face. When I'm part of his life, it will be the right way, as someone he can be proud of. As guards signaled the end of their time, Bastian pressed his forehead against the glass. Keep him safe, he whispered. That's all that matters now. Walking out of the prison, Nadia felt the weight of her decision anew. Standing her ground meant standing alone, fighting not just for justice, but for a future where their son would know both his parents. A future that seemed further away with each passing day. The war between justice and love continues as Nadia builds a new life in the shadow of danger. With Victor still at large and Bastian behind bars, can she protect their son alone? 2 years passed in a blur of milestones Bastian witnessed only through photographs. Marco's first steps, first words, the way his laugh echoed through rooms and hearts alike. Then came the call Nadia never expected. Early release, Dominic explained, bursting into her office at the Foundation. Federal prosecutor recommended sentence reduction for continued cooperation. A judge signed off this morning. Nadia gripped her desk to steady herself. When? Tomorrow, 9 a.m. After the initial shock faded, anxiety took its place. 2 years had changed everything. The boy in the pictures wasn't a concept anymore. He was a person with routines, preferences, fears. And Bastian wasn't just an absence, he was a stranger. How did you introduce a toddler to the father he'd never known? How did you rebuild what prison walls had kept apart? The next morning, Nadia dressed Marco in his favorite dinosaur t-shirt, combed his dark hair and tried to explain where they were going. At 2, his understanding was limited to meeting someone special. They waited in the prison parking lot, away from media cameras and curious eyes. When the gates finally opened, Nadia's heart stopped. Bastian emerged looking both familiar and changed. Leaner. Harder. Prison had stripped away his polished exterior, leaving something more raw beneath. His eyes scanned the lot until they found her, and the small figure clutching her hand. He approached slowly, as if fearing they might vanish. Is that him? His voice broke on the question. Nadia nodded, kneeling beside Marco. Marco, this is your daddy. The boy studied Bastian with solemn eyes. Bastian's eyes, before offering his dinosaur toy as a greeting. Bastian knelt, accepting it with trembling hands. Thank you, he managed. Raw, Marco demonstrated helpfully. Raw, Bastian repeated, earning a delighted giggle. Just like that, a bridge formed across the years of separation. The days that followed brought a careful dance of integration. As Bastian moved into a modest apartment near Nadia's, close enough for daily visits, separate enough to ease Marco's adjustment. His parole terms were strict: regular check-ins, employment verification, no contact with former associates. The terms didn't mention the security team that still shadowed Nadia and Marco, now watching Bastian too. Victor remained at large, his network wounded but not destroyed. One evening, as Marco slept in the next room, Nadia and Bastian sat in comfortable silence on her apartment balcony. 2 years of unspoken words hung between them. "The foundation is remarkable," Bastian said finally. "You've helped more people in 2 years than the system did in 20. "It's not enough," Nadia gazed at the city lights. "For every woman we help, 10 more disappear. The network's adapted after Victor left. You can't save everyone." "Says the man who tried." She offered a small smile. "How's the job search going?" Bastian's expression darkened. "Ex-cons with my resume don't exactly get corporate offers." His parole required legitimate employment, an impossible demand for a man whose name still struck fear across Greywick Harbor. Too dangerous to hire. Too notorious to blend in. "I spoke with my board," Nadia said carefully. "The foundation needs a security consultant, someone who understands how trafficking networks operate from the inside." "Charity from the woman I put in danger?" His pride stiffened his shoulders. "Partnership with the father of my son." She met his eyes directly. "The foundation needs you. Marco needs you. And you?" The question hung between them. He waited with everything they'd never properly begun. Before she could answer, her security alert pinged. Motion sensors triggered at the building's east entrance. Bastian was instantly alert. "Get Marco, panic room, now!" They'd practiced this drill countless times. Within 30 seconds, Nadia had a sleepy Marco in her arms, heading for the hidden room behind her closet wall. Bastian checked the security feed on his phone. 3 men, armed, professional. Victor? Has to be. He pressed a gun into her hand, one he shouldn't have had under parole conditions. "Don't come out until Dominic gives the all clear." "Where are you going?" Fear clutched at her throat. "To end this." His eyes held hers for a moment too brief. "It's time our son had a normal life." As the panic room door sealed, Nadia realized what Bastian was doing, drawing the danger away from them, making himself the target. Breaking parole, risking everything they'd built, choosing them over his own freedom, again. Just as their family begins to heal, danger returns to tear them apart once more. Bastian faces an impossible choice between his freedom and their safety. Will he survive this final confrontation with Victor's men? Can this fragile family ever find peace? The first gunshot split the night air just as Nadia sealed the panic room door. Through the security monitors, she watched Bastian move with lethal precision. No longer the reformed prisoner, but the man who once controlled Greywick Harbor's underworld. He disabled the first intruder with brutal efficiency, took his weapon, and vanished from camera view. "Stay here, baby," Nadia whispered to Marco, who had miraculously remained asleep. She had followed procedure, locked down, called for backup, waited for rescue. But something fierce and protective rose within her. Bastian was outnumbered, fighting to keep them safe while she hid. Not this time. Nadia slipped out through the panic room's secondary exit, a narrow passage connecting to the building's maintenance shafts. The gun felt heavy in her hand. Bastian had insisted she learn to use it after Marco was born. 2 floors below, she glimpsed Victor Sato himself, directing his men with hand signals. No longer the polished businessman, he looked gaunt, hollow-eyed, a man consumed by vengeance. "Find the child," he ordered. "He's our leverage." Those words ignited something primal in Nadia. This man had killed her mother, threatened her child, destroyed countless lives. While she'd built shelters and testified in courtrooms, Victor had simply waited, plotting from the shadows. Justice had failed, but she wouldn't. Nadia moved silently through service corridors, using the building layout she'd memorized for exactly this scenario. When one of Victor's men passed beneath her position, she dropped down, striking him unconscious with the gun's grip. Voices echoed from the parking garage. Bastian and Victor finally face to face. "It's over, Victor," Bastian's voice carried. "Federal agents are already on their way." "Nothing's over until I say it is." Victor's laugh held no humor. Your son grows up without a father either way. Prison or grave, your choice. Nadia positioned herself on the garage's upper level, weapon trained on the confrontation below. Bastian stood with his back to a concrete pillar, a gun aimed at Victor, who held a detonator in his hand. You always were theatrical, Bastian said. What's the play this time? Insurance, Victor smiled thinly. Explosives throughout this building, enough to erase your little family and half the block. Unless you come with me? Alone. A sacrifice play. Victor knew he couldn't escape justice again. His final move was to take Bastian down with him. And if I refuse? Bastian asked, though his expression showed he already knew the answer. Then say goodbye to everything you love. Victor's thumb hovered over the detonator. You have 10 seconds to drop your weapon. Time slowed as Nadia aligned her shot. She'd never killed anyone. Had spent her life fighting for victims, not creating more. But in this moment, the line between justice and vengeance blurred beyond recognition. Below, Bastian's shoulders slumped in defeat, his gun lowered slowly. For my son, he said quietly, I surrender. As Victor stepped forward, triumph in his eyes, Nadia exhaled and squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed through the garage. Victor staggered, the detonator falling from his grasp. Not a kill shot, center mass, just as Bastian had taught her. Victor collapsed, clutching his chest as Bastian kicked the detonator away and secured his weapon. Nadia! Bastian called out, spotting her on the upper level. She emerged from the shadows, gun still trained on Victor. I couldn't let you sacrifice yourself. Not again. As police sirens wailed in the distance, Bastian handcuffed a bleeding Victor to a pipe. It's finally over, he said, though uncertainty clouded his expression. They both knew what this meant. Nadia had fired a weapon, and Bastian had violated parole by possessing one. Their brief chance at normal family life now hanging by a thread. 3 hours later, they sat in a police station interview room, Marco asleep in Nadia's lap. Detective Holt reviewed their statements for the 3rd time. So you're both claiming the gun belonged to Ms. Serrano, legally registered, and Mr. Caruso never touched it? Nadia nodded firmly. That's correct. And the security footage from your building will confirm this. Unfortunately, our system experienced a malfunction during the attack, Bastian replied evenly. A backup generator issue. Holt's expression remained neutral, but his eyes revealed he knew exactly what they'd done. Convenient. Isn't it? Bastian held his gaze. After a long moment, Holt closed his notebook. The bomb squad confirmed Victor's threat was real. E6 devices throughout the building, all connected to that detonator. He sighed. You saved a lot of lives tonight. Does that mean? Nadia began. It means I've got a critically injured suspect and no clear evidence of parole violation. Holt stood. Sometimes justice works in unexpected ways. As they left the station at dawn, Marco still sleeping against Bastian's shoulder, Nadia felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Freedom from fear. Victor would stand trial again, this time with no escape routes. His network lay in ruins, exposed by Bastian's continued cooperation with federal authorities. The danger hadn't disappeared completely. It never would for people with their past. But for the first time, the future held more promise than threat. What happens now? Nadia asked as they walked toward her car. Bastian gazed at their sleeping son, then at her. That depends on you. I've taken enough choices away from your life. And if I choose you? All of you, the good, the bad, the complicated. His free hand found hers, fingers intertwining. Then we build something new, together. 1 month later, a package arrived at their new home outside the city. A renovated farmhouse with security systems disguised as modern conveniences. Inside the package lay a single black rose and a note. Family protects family. Always. The signature was simply M, Mira, still watching over them from whatever agency had truly employed her. That evening, as Marco chased fireflies in the yard, Bastian wrapped his arms around Nadia from behind. Any regrets? He asked softly. She watched their son laugh, free and fearless in the fading light. Behind them stood a home built not on fear and control, but on choices and second chances. "Not one," she whispered, turning to kiss the man who had once been her enemy, then her protector, and now, finally, her choice. Some love stories begin with a dance. Theirs began with a rescue, and ended with justice neither of them expected. Their story has come full circle, from danger to safety, from enemies to family. What would you have done in Nadia's position? Would you have taken the shot to protect the ones you love? The choices we make in our darkest moments define who we truly are. Subscribe now to experience more stories where justice and love collide in unexpected ways. Because some endings are just the beginning of something even more powerful.